So I decided to take a day to see how the internet would process the Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul fight. And, I gotta tell you, I am pretty surprised about everyone's reactions. I've seen the occasional Dillon Danis supporter around, but for the most part, everybody is ridiculing him. People are calling him a disgrace. They're saying that he completely disrespected boxing by going for that guillotine, that he didn't throw any punches, he threw more punches at the security guard than he did at Logan. And like I said, I'm really surprised to hear all this because I thought we were all on the same page going into this fight, but maybe not. Maybe I went into this with a little different mindset than everybody else had. Because the only thing I knew about this fight 100% was that Dillon was going to be the way worse boxer than Logan. The only reason Logan picked Dillon in the first place to fight was so he could get an easy win. Now, I said it in my breakdown video, the only way Dillon wins is if Logan completely cracks under the pressure, gets way too emotional, and maybe Dillon can try gassing him out. Because Logan's first ever boxing match was in 2018. That was 5 years ago. Dillon's been boxing for like 6 months, but even people I have a lot of respect for, like the Weasel, who I think is a very smart guy, very educated in the world of fighting, he was talking about how bad Dillon did, he was expecting him to be so much better, like he's been working with all these amazing strikers for so long, yet he didn't look good in this boxing fight. And I'm just like, did you miss the time that Tyron Woodley boxed Jake Paul? The 4-time UFC welterweight champion who was known for knocking people out with one punch. Jake Paul had only been boxing for 3 years when he first fought Tyron Woodley. And yeah, I understand Tyron was older, he wasn't in his prime, but is Dillon in his prime? He's only had 2 MMA fights. He barely threw a single punch in either of them. He's coming off his 2 knee surgeries, and he hasn't fought in years. But at the same time, I completely understand the fact that Dillon hyped this fight up an insane amount. And if you're gonna do that, if you don't perform, people are gonna be really disappointed. And it had gotten to the point that this fight was mainstream. Everybody was looking forward to this fight, and most people don't follow professional fighting, so obviously I'm not going to fault them for expecting more out of this fight. But for the people who really do know fighting and follow the sport, I am surprised that you expected more. That's just the truth. Logan went 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. He landed like 1.5 punches on him, cleanly. And you didn't think Dillon was going to try to pull some shenanigans this fight? You thought Dillon was gonna stick to the integrity of the sport? Like, you genuinely thought that and were surprised that he didn't? I mean, I thought we all knew that wasn't the way he was going to win. Don't get me wrong, I understand it wasn't a good performance, but that is what I thought we were all expecting. Like, I thought Conor was going to run out with a steel chair and smash Logan in the back of the head. That's what I was honestly expecting at some point in this fight. My mindset going into this fight was, okay, Logan Paul, horrible person, terrible. He handpicked this jiu-jitsu guy who he should destroy without a question just so he can get a win on his record, but he bit off a lot more than he could chew with all this Twitter drama. Maybe Dillon can pull off a miracle here if Logan completely chokes. But Logan didn't choke. He actually stayed very composed, and he did not fight crazy and emotional, which you gotta give him a little bit of respect for. But the one thing that did surprise me, though, was how Logan has still not improved his punching technique at all. He's still just throwing with his arms. He can't put his body behind it. Dillon was begging to get hit with a liver shot, and I think Logan tried, wasn't super effective with it. I think Dillon was trying to shell up like Floyd Mayweather did, but he wasn't using his elbows to guard his body. But still, it was clear that Logan was way more comfortable defensively, the way he was sliding away from punches. You could tell he's been working with a coach training in an actual boxing ring. And maybe you can make the argument that Dillon should have taken this fight a lot more seriously. He should have hired a coach. He should have seriously gone into camp. And that's completely valid if you're going to think that. I just thought we were all hoping Dillon would go for a guillotine. I don't know. And like I said, maybe I'm just completely off on this one. I was watching the fight like, man, I hope Dillon puts him to sleep. And then he tried. Then everyone's like, whoa. But I guess I'll just admit fault on this one. I guess I was expecting a different fight than everybody else. It was clear Dillon's game plan was to try to punch Logan out. That's why he just stood in front of him with his hands up, talking shit the whole time. He thought Logan was going to be all emotional, go crazy, and just unload on him. And he did a few times, but not enough to completely gas out. But now to answer the real important questions. Is Dillon Danis still my Jesus? I guess.